Alright guys, in today's project we're going to be tackling this ratty old headliner in this 98 Chevrolet Cheyenne K2500. This has gone for a long while and had some boxes stacked in here that finish it off, and I'm tired of looking at it. So we're going to show you how to pull this off and replace it. There's a couple of things we got to get out of the way before we can pull this off. And the first thing we're going to be doing, I'm going to show you the passenger side. It's going to be basically the same on the driver's side. The first thing we're going to be doing is getting off this headliner. Or excuse me, this sun visor. So you just need to have a Phillips screwdriver for this guy. There's 3 of these. You got to get off. So let me get this off, get the one on the driver's side, and we'll come back. All right, we've got the sun visors off on both sides, or sometimes they're referred to as a sunshade. Now we're going to pan to the back. Now this is a standard cab, so we got these coat hooks that are also held in with a Phillips on both passenger and driver's side. We're going to go ahead and remove those. And these guys are super long. You can go ahead and leave the coat hook attached. Just take the screw out. All right, next what we're going to go after is all of these grab handles. Depending on your model, you might have 2 or maybe even 3. We're going to go ahead and remove the trim covers. So we're going to take a small flathead screwdriver and we're going to pop these covers off to reveal the bolts that are underneath. So let's go ahead and pop these off wherever they occur on these grab handles, and then we'll come back and remove the fasteners. All right, with those covers removed, now we can pull the 10mm fasteners. All right, we'll do the others, and we'll pick it up the next step. All right, guys, now we're going to go after, there's a couple of more screws where the dome light is. There's going to be a little bit of a glare there on you. As you can see, there's a couple of Phillips screws in here that we're going to want to pull out as well. One, and this guy here is also a ground. Goes from that ground lead into the roof sheet metal. All right, and then we just want to get this guy hanging loose here. What we'll do is when we pull this panel down, we'll be able to take this light, kind of push it up like that. You don't need to disconnect the bed or anything. The main thing we were after was this. All right, with those screws out, this back piece of trim, at least on the standard cab model, we should be able to work loose. And the way this guy fits in is, I'll flip it around here for a second. So you've got this piece here that slides in on top of that. And then these three pieces here fit in underneath it. You can see here, looks like the piece on the outside end might have busted off. And that's not going to be an uncommon thing as old as this plastic is. And you can see here is where those 3 kind of laid up. And then you've got them over here. And then we've obviously got something here that looks like it. I don't know if that was something that sits up there or something that has broken off. Yeah, so up underneath here, this piece here is another screw. So it's some previous owner probably busted this off and didn't take that screw out that you can see up there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take these pieces off first so you can access those screws. That's the only reason why this was loose. So didn't realize that, but it is what it is. Let's keep going. All right, the next thing we got to do, guys, is we got to get this trim piece off. So it's held in by clips. I believe there's one here, and there's going to be one either here or here. And then it just kind of snugs on the top. So we'll try to get this top piece off here with a trim tool first. Now I can't stress enough that this is old plastic, just like we saw in that piece around the dome light. So it's going to be old and brittle. So we want to go nice and slow on this. All right, so we've worked this one off, so you can see there's a little, I don't know if you can see it from this side, but there's a little clip here that's attached onto a piece of the headliner, and that's what we're trying to work loose here, nice and slowly. You know, it's not only do we not want to break this plastic, we don't want to damage our headliner, because we're going to try to, you know, reuse all this stuff, right? So there's that one. There's that one. All right, so now we've got these clips. So there's one. And we're going to find out if we got number 2 or if it broke. I can see it came off. All right. Get this out of the way. I'll show you what we were talking about. All right, so there's our clip. So we'll make sure this clip is intact. It's kind of what typically breaks on these is the plastic that's melted on to hold the metal clip will sometimes break off. This one's okay. This one's okay. And then we can see up here, this clip here, or this is kind of like a alignment tab, I guess more than a clip. This one and this one, they're okay. So this piece came off without any damage. Just go do the same thing on the driver's side. All right, now we've got to get this panel off. It's going to be held on by several Phillips screws down here. I can see there's 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're going to take these 3 off. And then we're going to show you how to get the Torx bolt that's behind the seat belt latch there. All right, guys, we decided just to take these 2 screws out here, not this guy all the way at the bottom, because to access this guy all the way at the bottom, you know, you have to have an angled type of tool. And if you don't, you're going to have to remove what holds the jack. And I don't think we need to, because this will give us enough flexibility to bend this out of the way. So now let's tackle this. So in order to get this cover off, we're going to press the sides. And this should let go on the back. You might have to put your finger in the back and help get this little clip to come let go. And then you've got a T50 type of Torx bolt here. That guy just lay on the bottom. Now we have enough flexibility here, right, where we can just bend this back. That's all we need to do here so that we can get this guy to let go of the Velcro that he's on. Yep. And that'll also let us able to get a hold of these other clips I was telling you about that those flat plastic pieces fit in. You can see those clips right here. You know, ideally what we want is to have it not break. And the plastic can slide right back up into there. Technically it's supposed to come off with the plastic, but after this many decades, just be lucky it didn't break off. All right, in taking the driver's side one off, we can see this is actually supposed to be hinged on top. So it looks like the hinge gave out on the passenger side. Just showing you that yours is probably going to look like this. All right, guys, we've got enough out that we can remove the headboard. So here on the driver's side here, we're just making sure that it's going to be nice and loose along the edge and around the corner, right? You got to be careful with this because this board can get damaged or dented, and then you'll end up having to try to find a replacement or a reproduction made of ABS plastic or something. So this side's loose. There's going to be some Velcro holding it in the middle. Let's get the passenger side loose and then go after the Velcro. All right, we've got the back loose. We've got the side loose. We're just going to kind of slowly work this guy loose. Now we want to go after this Velcro. So that Velcro is probably about midway around here. Just going to have to take a tool and see if you can feel where it is. It's right there. You guys can hear it. Just let go. Get your hand up in here and you can feel It's right there. So we'll take a look at that when we get it off. Now we're going to go find the next piece, which should be up right past the mirror. I'm going to have to come in on the driver's side. I can't reach any further. All right, so I'm going to come in on the driver's side and get this last piece. All right, same thing. We're going to take our tool over until we can kind of feel where this Velcro might be. You guys can hear it. There we go. All right, so we got that Velcro off. And now we're going to get a helper and we're going to slide it out of the cab. All right, on the driver's side, let's slide it forward around this piece of trim. And then with your helper holding it on the other side, you can work it out of the cab. All right, so here's our two Velcros. They're like push pin type clips. Here's one on the driver's side, and there's the one on the passenger side. All right, guys, so we got our headboard laid up here. We can see the original factory sticker, made in May 20th of 1998 for the GMT 400 series, medium gray, right? And if we come around this way, here's our two pieces of Velcro that we're attaching to the ones that we're holding it up in the top. That's really all that holds it on, other than all of the trim pieces. So next comes, well, how do you figure out what color you're going to get here, right? So you can write to these companies that sell this material. They're not going to have the exact color that GM used because they make this material. The companies that they get this material from are for all makes, right? So it's not just for General Motors, it's for Ford, it's for Dodge, it's for anybody. And so you'll have to come down here. My recommendation is match it up with this piece that's bent over because this has never been exposed to light. And so this is most likely the closest original color, right? So we can take this first company, for example, and we can lay this down here and we can see, you know, none of these are really even close to what we had. Now you can pick one. Maybe you want to take one of these grays anyway that you like better. But that's what I basically did, right? I came down here and I took a look at each one of these, trying to decide, you know, which one of these I thought, let me spin this back like this, which one of these I thought was close, right? And this is a very close match, in my opinion. It's kind of a little bit lighter. This one also could be suitable as well, and the others are not, right? And you just kind of go through that. And it's very subjective. You got to decide for yourself. Here's another company with their samples, and they always give you these samples for free. And you can kind of decide which one you want to go with. So you guys will see what I went with here in just a moment that I thought was the closest to the original kind of 13i trim code 98 gray, light gray. But first we got to get this off. So the way we're going to have to get this off, this material is going to peel off here. I'm trying to find a piece that's kind of loose. You're just going to have to be real careful because it's going to want to pull the headboard material off with it. And that we don't want to do. So we might get a little razor blade and cut some of these threads, for example. But this is what we're going to do now, is we're just going to go painstakingly around and removing this. So first we'll get it started all around this edge like this, all around this front edge, and then I'll show you how we get it off on the other side. All right, so we flipped it over. This is the side we normally would see. So this is the side we pulled off. So now we're going to work it along this edge here. And again, we're trying to not let it take the headboard material with it. Now what you're seeing here is kind of like what's left of the foam. There was a foam backing that this material was originally glued into. We're trying to get the material off first, then we're going to scrape this foam backing material off afterwards. But you just got to go slow, and I'll tell you, if you don't go slow, this fiberboard can easily separate and rip and break. And then you got a bigger problem in terms of having to go get the actual headliner backing material. So we're just going to kind of slowly continue going over here like this and get these edges off. It's only going to be secured tightly on these edges. What we really want to do is we want to see that foam. That way we know we're not pulling off any material like this. It's starting to pull off some more material. We don't want that. just like that. You can see how, after almost 30 years, this stuff is just falling apart very easily, very easily. All right, so I'm just going to continue doing what you see me doing here to get the material off, and then next we'll go after this foam. Just showing you a few more clips, guys, of getting this off the edges. You can see I'm just trying to leave that foam behind as much as possible. Try to avoid peeling off the actual headliner material. All right, guys, at the point of having the fabric removed, you should be kind of like at this stage where you've got the headboard with just the remaining antiquated foam backing on it. All right, guys, pick yourself a suitable damaged area in the middle area, and then get under here with I like to use a putty knife, and I actually do prefer a metal one. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to work on slowly scraping this material off. Now, this was what was originally glued on, so we don't want to take off too much of the headboard material. It should just be little bits of fibers like you see on here. This amount is unavoidable. So we're just going to go just like this. We're going to go all the way around, cutting all this away. It's like skinning. So we're just going to do that across the whole thing, and I'll just keep popping in and out so you can see my progress. All right, folks, we're coming up on the halfway point here. We're just continuing to fillet our little headliner material off here. Now, as we go, you may find some sections where it adheres. And this is why I prefer this metal tool. So now we can come back over here. We don't want to take too much of it off, right? But we can come over here and just take a little bit of a layer off where this glue was like extra thick and dried on. Or you can actually just scrape off the material directly like this. Right? Either way, you just want to try and get all of the old foam off. And we'll go finish this off a little bit later. Any of this loose fabric, or excuse me, fibers, you can pinch that off. Just be careful you don't try to rip it, because something like this could easily dive deeper and dig in if you pull it too hard. All right, at this point, we've gotten all the foam material off. Now I'm just taking a wire brush, and I'm just looking for any places where I see loose fibers, and just going ahead and scraping those off, right? Because loose fibers are not going to hold our new material good. This will just, kind of grab them up. It's kind of like picking up dog hair or cat hair, depending on what you've got. We're just trying to get all that off. So we're going to continue doing that, and then we're going to give it a blast with compressed air, and then we'll be ready to test fit our new material. All right, guys, after we've blown it off, we're just going to take some wide painter's tape, and we're going to go around, and we're going to continue trying to get all the loose fibers off the area. So just work in one area at a time so you can keep track of what you've done until you don't have anything moving. You don't want anything moving, because anything moving, anything like that, is going to not stick well. All right, at this point, we're going to lay our piece of material and test fit it. So we've got some seams in here from where it was sitting in the box, unfortunately. I'm going to try to smooth those out. But what you're looking for is you want to make sure you don't have any stains or anything like that. And then what we're going to do is, so when we saw what the factory did, the factory had everything cut right at the edge. And then they only folded it over on the front where the windshield was. And we're actually going to fold it over on the other sides here as well, just to give it more of a stretch, particularly since we've got some of these little creases from the shipping. What I'm probably going to do is just kind of let it sit out for a little bit and let some of these creases work their way out before we glue it down. But that's our next two steps. We're just going to cut and smooth out. And then when we've got it all cut the way we want it, then we'll apply the adhesive. And what I'm going to be using for the adhesive is 3M headliner and fabric adhesive. Right, just a can of this. This takes about an hour to dry. And we're going to be coating both the foam side of the material as well as the headliner itself on the fiberboard and put the two together. All right, the instructions for the 3M material say to apply 3 coats, 2 in one direction and 1 in the opposite. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start halfway and then we'll fold back and do the front. And we do that all across the whole thing. Nice and even. Cover the entire surface. All right, we're just going to keep going with that, and we'll come back when we're ready to put down the material. All right, guys, now we're just going to use a tool, nice, clean, soft plastic tool, to work the material over and get it in contact with the headboard across the entire length. We want to pay particular attention as we get into these areas that have the depressions for the sun visors, right? Because we want to maintain that. If we get like a little piece like that, we're going to have to get on that other side and smooth that out. All right, guys, we've taken a small pick here and we've made our holes for our sunshades very carefully from the back side. And then what we're going to do right in the middle is we're going to take an X-Acto knife and we're just going to open up the material in the center as well, so that the piece can go in here. We're going to do that on the other side as well. All right, guys, just before we put it on here inside the cab, here you can see where we folded the material over. It's not the exact factory way, but it allowed us to get some more of a stretch. Quite frankly, not as much of a stretch as I would have hoped for, but this is the technique that I would recommend you use to try and get as much as possible. And you can see all the way around. We did that all the way around on the sides, on all 4 sides. All right, guys, we got it remounted. Looks 200 times better than it did. You know, if I had to do it over again, I would definitely take some more time on the stretching because I see there's a few wrinkles in there. Hopefully the heat will get it eventually, but again, it's 200 times better than it was. Torque values, the seat belt adjusters, the T50 is 41 foot-pounds. All of the various Phillips head screws are 18 inch-pounds. Surprisingly, the service manual did not show the torque value for the 10 millimeter bolts that hold the grab handle. So those will have to be good and tight. So I hope this helps you out. I'll put in the video description some links to where you can buy this material. Same place I got mine, but others as well. And I'll also put some other information about this procedure down there. If this helped you out or you found it useful or it saved you some money, please pay it forward and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching.